Hello students, I am Sanjana Kavatigi, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, AITM, Belgavi. Let us continue with the video lectures on storage area networks. In this video, we shall continue with the chapter 9, that is Introduction to Business Continuity. In the previous video, we have seen some of the BC terminologies, that is business continuity terminologies. In this video, let us study business continuity planning life cycle. Business continuity planning life cycle. Business continuity planning must follow a disciplined approach like any other planning process. Organizations today dedicate specialized resources to develop and maintain BC plans. From the conceptualization to the realization of the BC plan, that is business continuity plan, a life cycle of activities can be defined for this process. So the business continuity planning life cycle includes 5 stages. You can see in the figure. First one is establishing objectives, analyzing, and then designing and developing, implementing, training, testing, assessing, and maintaining. So it's a life cycle, okay? That is BC planning life cycle. So there are several activities performed at each of these stages in the business continuity planning life cycle. These includes the following key activities in each of the stages. First one is establishing objectives. First one is establish objectives. In this, we should determine the BC requirements and then estimate the scope and budget to achieve these requirements. Also, select a business continuity team that includes subject matter experts from all the areas of the business, whether it may be internal or external to the system, and create some BC policies. You should have a BC requirements, what are the requirements, and then we should estimate the scope of these requirements along with the budget to achieve such those requirements, and then we should have a team wherein it includes subject matter experts from all the areas of business, and then we should have a business continuity policies. So all this comes under establishing objectives. Next stage is analysis. The following activities are included: collecting information on data profiles, business processes, infrastructure support, dependencies, and frequency of using business infrastructure, and then conduct a business impact analysis. First is collecting information on various things, okay, of the various things of the business infrastructure, and then you should conduct a business impact analysis, that is BIA, and then identify some critical business processes and assign recovery priorities, and then perform risk analysis for those critical functions and create a mitigation strategies. So that is nothing but perform risk analysis for critical functions and create some mitigate strategies. So this is about analysis part, and then you should go for perform the cost benefit analysis of available solutions based on the mitigation strategy, and then evaluate those options based on the cost benefit. The third stage we have is design and develop. In this, define the team structure and assign individual roles and responsibilities. Okay, define the team which has subject matter experts of various areas. Define the team structure and give some individual roles and responsibilities for each of them. For example, different teams are formed for activities such as emergency response, damage assessment, and infrastructure and application recovery. These are some examples wherein many people will be involved who are experts in that particular area, and then each one of them will have a individual roles and responsibilities. Next is design data protection strategy and develop infrastructure, then develop contingency solutions, also develop emergency response procedures. Also you should have a details of recovery and restart procedures. All these have to be done under the stage design and develop. These things must be ready at this stage. Next stage is the implementation stage, wherein we have to implement the risk management and mitigation procedures that include backup, replication, and management of resources. Okay. So the backup and replication are the main important things here, wherein we are going to have the data recovery. Those two are the important techniques. Okay, so next is prepare disaster recovery sites that can be utilized if a disaster affects the primary data center. We should be ready with the disaster recovery sites, wherein we can use in case of a disaster that has occurred at the primary data center. Next, we should also implement the redundancy for every resource in a data center to avoid single point of failure. Single points of failure is a concept that we are going to study in detail in the next part of this video. Just understand, single point of failure is nothing but there is one important concept, one important thing in the entire organization, or say your data center. For example, take the computer itself. The main part of the computer is what? Processor. If the processor is not working, it is of no use. The computer is of no use, wherein you cannot use any memory part of it or any IO devices. It is of no use. Monitor is of no use, keyboard, nothing will be useful. So the single point of failure is what? If the processor gets failed, the entire system is failed. Correct. So we should try to avoid such single point of failures in case of data centers, so that we should have a redundancy for every resource in the data center to avoid such single points of failures. The last stage is train, test, assess and maintain. So train the employees who are responsible for backup and replication of business critical data on a regular basis, or whenever there is a modification in the plan. Next is train the employees on emergency response procedures when disasters are declared. Also train the recovery team on recovery procedures based on contingency scenarios. Perform damage assessment process and review the recovery plans. Also test the BC plan regularly to evaluate its performance and identify its limitations regularly. Also, you should assess the performance reports and identify the limitations that have been occurred in that particular performance report. Also, we should update the BC plans and recovery restart procedures to reflect regular changes within the data center. So all these things comes under train, test, assess and maintain. The next topic is failure analysis. Failure analysis involves analyzing both the physical as well as virtual infrastructure components to identify systems that are susceptible to a single point of failure and implementing the fault tolerance mechanisms. So first we shall study single point of failure. A single point of failure refers to the failure of a component that can terminate the availability of the entire system or IT service. As I told, for example, if you consider a computer system, if the processor gets failed, it is nothing but the failure of the entire system. Okay. In the same way, single point of failure means that it is a failure of a component which can terminate the entire availability of the system or any IT service. In the figure, you can see it depicts a system setup in which an application uh, that is running on a VM provides an interface to the client and performs some IO operations. The client is connected to the server through an IP network, and the server is connected to the storage array through the FC connection. You can see in the figure, client is connected to the server with the help of an IP switch, and in turn the server is connected to the storage array using the FC switch. And this server, it is nothing but a virtual machine which has uh, different operating systems running on it. Okay, so in this setup, in which a component must function as required to ensure that data availability. So in this setup, all the components are so important that even if there is a failure of any single physical or virtual component, it is going to cause unavailability of that particular application. Okay, so this failure results in a disruption of business operations. For example, consider failure of a hypervisor. It can affect all the running virtual machines and the virtual network which are hosted on it. Suppose consider this server. If the hypervisor gets failed, what will happen? All the virtual machines running on this will get failed, and it is going to destroy the virtual network also, so that any application hosted on it will not be performing its function. Suppose in the setup shown in this figure, there are several single point of failures can be identified. Okay, so consider in a virtual machine, a hypervisor can be a single point of failure. So hypervisor that is connected to HBA or network interface card on the server, the physical server, also the IP network and the FC switch, and also the storage array ports or even the storage array itself. All these could be a potential single point of failure. So even if this IP switch gets failed, what will happen? The client won't be connected to the server, so the application cannot be accessed by the client. If the FC switch gets failed, then what will happen? The server will not be connected to storage array, so it cannot access the data that is stored onto storage array. If the storage array itself gets failed, what will happen? The application cannot access the storage, or okay, it cannot use the data that is stored in the storage array. So there are several single point of failures that can occur in the given setup. Next we shall see resolving a single points of failure. To avoid single points of failure, systems are designed with redundancy such that the system fails only if all the components in the redundancy group fails. So this ensures that the failure of a single component does not affect the data availability. So data centers follow stringent guidelines to implement such a fault tolerance for uninterrupted information availability. Careful analysis is performed to eliminate every single point of failure. The example shown in the figure, it represents all the enhancements in the infrastructure to avoid single points of failure. First is configuration of redundant HBAs at the server to mitigate single HBA failure. HBA is nothing but host bus adapter. The configuration of a redundant HBA is done at the server to mitigate the single HBA failure. You can see in the figure, just keep observing the figure. Next is configuration of NIC teaming at the server allows protection against single physical NIC failure, that is network interface card failure. It allows grouping of two or more physical NICs and treating them as a single logical device. With NIC teaming, if one of the underlying physical NICs fails or its cable is unplugged, the traffic is redirected to another physical NIC in the team. Thus, NIC teaming eliminates the single point of failure associated with a single physical network interface card. Next is the configuration of redundant switches to account for a switch failure. Then also we have configuration of multiple storage array ports to mitigate a port failure. Also we have RAID and hot spare configuration to ensure continuous operation in the event of a disk failure. So different RAID and hot spare configurations have been done to make sure that continuous operation is going on even in the case of a disk failure. So implementation of redundant storage array at a remote site is done to mitigate a local site failure. Next is implementing server clustering, a fault tolerance mechanism whereby two or more servers in a cluster accesses the same set of data volumes. So clustered servers exchange a heartbeat to inform each other about their health. Okay, so it is like a message that they transfer between each of the servers in a cluster to make sure that they're working fine. If one of the server or hypervisor fails, the other server or hypervisor can take up the workload. If one of the system in a cluster gets failed, the other system can take its workload and continue working. Next, we have implementing a VM fault tolerance mechanism, that is virtual machine fault tolerance mechanism, which ensures BC in the event of a, that is business continuity in the event of a server failure. This technique creates duplicate copies of each virtual machine on another server so that when a virtual machine failure is detected, the duplicate virtual machine can be used for a failover. So the two virtual machines are kept in synchronization with each other in order to perform successful failovers. So this is about single point of failure and resolving the single point of failures. Thank you for watching.